Now, that wasn't Black Star, was it? That was Lazarus. We decided to change to Lazarus.
We should explain what happened there. So there was Black Star, the album.
Yes.
But we ended up listening to Lazarus. So
From the Black Star album.
From it. So, dear listener, you listen to Lazarus. Now, the reason, let's explain what happened. We tried the first tune, which is the also called Black Star. 3 minutes in, look at the clock. It's a 10-minute long tune.
Apparently, it was going to be longer, but Spotify that only do up to 10-minute songs. So,
right.
David Bowie and Tony Visconti shortened Black Star by a couple of minutes so it fit on Spotify. So already Spotify are ruining music.
I was like, our listeners need to
had.
listen to this. I think that's too. And I always started to play on my phone at 3 minutes, which is 3 minutes is the length of a typical pop tune, isn't it? So
a short attention span, Louis.
I do, but it's not unreasonable. A lot of good things,
You'd never get to the chorus of Hey Jude to be switched off before the na-na-nas, wouldn't you?
Well, I did make it through the 6 minutes of Lazarus. Then we tried the track number 2, Tis Pity She's a Whore. Similarly, I was like, this is not for me. Lazarus, I liked. Haunting.
Yeah.
That lyric at the beginning where he says, "Here I am in heaven."
I'm in heaven. Yeah.
Looking down or something, or speaking to you, and it was like Bowie speaking to us from the grave.
Well, yeah. I think that was his plan. He knew he was dying at the time,
and that'd be a funny position to be in. And so Lazarus, and then we went. The reason I chose that was we saw that on the stats. It looked like that's the one that's most listened to, and I could see that was a bit more conventional Bowie. I could go with that. Whereas the first two, I felt like he's there from the grave, and he's like, he doesn't give a fuck. The first one, the Black Star, there was a drum beat.
You didn't hear it all, to be fair.
I mean, I listened and there was a drum beat that was annoyingly. You were like, this doesn't make. It's not repeating drum. You know how like a drum beat is normally like boom, ch, boom, or like boom, ch.
All your
boom,
songs
boom,
have
ch,
to be
boom, ch.
We have to have a nice backbeat, do they?
Whereas it was like. It was like, you know what I mean? Like,
so it had a more interesting rhythm than you're used to.
It wasn't a rhythm. It was
too
jarring.
It was too interesting for you to cope with.
I felt it was a little bit like Bowie going, no, or like, fuck you. Like, I don't care because you're going to buy this anyway. I'm dead anyway. I don't care. You know, like.
Do you think was he trying to be more, a bit more creative? Is that
what it reminds me of was?
Do you think he went into the studio going "fuck you" to his fans? I'll do this to be annoying. You don't really think that?
Oh, what a great joke from death. It reminds me of like when where I live. Like I live near this arts university, Goldsmiths, lots of arts students. It's the sort of thing where they'd put on an experimental music night, and they'd be like just deliberately like obtuse and like contrarian, and we're like, oh, we don't believe in things like melody. We're gonna, we don't believe in things like drum. What's it called? Drum loops. So that was my take on that. But Lazarus, on the other hand, was nice, spooky, haunting. Song from the grave. Still long at 6 minutes, but I did.
Do you like a good 3-minute pop song?
Yes.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, you can be 4. I'm not a pedant.
Well, no, I mean, it was him literally speaking from the grave, wasn't it? About how he knew he'd be more famous because, as Jimi Hendrix said, the best thing you can do for your career is die. I'd be a lot more successful if I was dead.
Yeah, I think that's true. Particularly as a rock star.
Yeah.
But you specifically.
Yeah. Well, me specifically, but also other people.
Nigel, Tom. I mean,
you have to look. People like Elliott Smith, and
Well,
even other stars. You're not allowed to age. Like you think about how people are. Even Princess Diana is so revered now. I think it's because you don't get old enough to put your foot in it, and to you have that precious youth. Marilyn Monroe.
The 27 Club. Have you heard of that?
I have heard of that. Yeah.
Big and Rocky Wood, but like Kurt Cobain.
Yeah. Jim Morrison.
Well, but you know what I mean. Yeah,
I know what you mean.
Dying young. Die at your peak. Reach your peak and die before you become like old, fat, lazy.
Yeah.
Maybe you've been through a couple of divorces and you need.
I hope I die before I get old.
Hope I die. What's that from?
You're mixing up Robbie Williams with the Who there.
Okay. Right. Yeah.
So in my generation, I hope I die before I get old. But then later, Robert Williams said, I hope I'm old before I die.
Right. Yeah. Very.
And he's
much
succeeding in that so far.
I mean,
hasn't he?
spoken like someone who has myself past my prime. Yeah.
Oh, the best years of your life are ahead of you, surely, Louis.
Yeah, life.
You have to hope the best years of your life are ahead of you, don't you, Louis? The way it's gone so far, you have to...
I mean, if that was the best, yeah.
So I think you'd enjoy the album if you listened to it all. And,
I'm not sure.
But it'd drag you back into the dark place.
Drag it into his dark. It was a bit too experimental for me.
You need to cleanse
For
the palate
my-
with some Ziggy or Young Americans.
I mean, I thought he was pretty experimental with Ziggy Stardust and and like ground control to Major Tom. I mean, there is a musician who has had some longevity,
Yeah.
and he has managed to reinvent himself many times. I think that's what you have to do, isn't it, as a musician?
It'll keep it interesting.
But I don't think that means if you're the Arctic Monkeys, you need to be doing a musical theatre number.
I'm surprised. I didn't think it was musical at all. Really?
Arctic
It,
Monkeys.
it didn't sound musical to me. To my ear.
What did you think of these last two tunes? I paused there because I was like, I don't really want to hear. But okay, go on.
Well, I like them. I'm interested to hear the full album, the Arctic Monkeys. More so than if they'd just done the same thing over and over.
Well,
And, I'm a big fan of the Black Star album, so I'm. But I think you benefit from repeat listens to these things. I think on one listen, it's hard to get a full.
well, dear listener, this is what this podcast is about. It's like me learning about music, and I feel like I have learned something today, actually, which is that
Not to listen to Bowie's last album, is that the. Or any
Well,
new Arctic Monkeys?
I'm capable of changing my mind.
What
and
did you think of the
learning.
Arctic Monkeys AM stuff? You heard that? The AM album.
I've never sat down and listened to an Arctic Monkeys
Stuff
album.
like Do You Want to Know?
I don't know if I've listened to that.
That'll be a future podcast then, but that's a bit more kind of. I mean, that's.
But if in the last podcast, the lesson I learned was, an album can take you on a journey, or a song can take you on a journey. Almost like going to see an orchestra
Paranoid
recital, Paranoid Android. So I learned that lesson, and I had to agree.
Yeah.
Maybe what I'm learning in this is that a band can't stay the same. They do have to, as they release a new album, they have to progress, evolve, whatever. So I guess that's what we've experienced here. But it's to the amateur like me, music listener.
Now, do we want to stick
Sorry.
with the music theme of new music? Do you want to? I know that Robbie Williams, and we've mentioned him already. He does have a new single out. Shall we?
Well,
do you want to have a listen to the new Robbie Williams
Go
single?
on.
Because I haven't heard it.
Go on, because he might be the opposite. Because he's like a more of a pop act.
I think he might.
He might just do a classic 3-minute rising.
It
pop
sickens
tune.
me to say this, but I think
Tub thumping.
I think you might prefer, which I haven't heard. I think you might prefer this Robbie Williams song to David Bowie and the Arctic Monkeys. What a
I mean, I'd be
state-
ashamed of myself if
What
I
a
do,
st-
but let's give it.
Well, let's give it. It might be alright.
Guilty. Is it even a guilty pleasure? I mean, Robbie Williams was almost like a caricature of the that Brit pop. No, fuck it. I like it. Let's listen.
Yeah. His second album's alright as well, I thought. His second, I can't remember what it's called now, but the one with Grace on and stuff, that was alright. Anyway, let's listen to Robbie Williams' latest single. I don't know what it's called, but let's put it on and then I'll tell you the name of it. Here we go.